I know Dr. Gannon, you want to jump in real quick there.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that vexes me is when we hear this narrative and we see these efforts that seek to undermine public education. For me, and I'll proffer this notion for the first time, I think undermining public education is undermining America. Because when you look at the history of this country, public education was at the epicenter. It served as a foundation. And there was a clear, consistent, collaborative, collective understanding that a rising tide lifts all boats. So that's why the struggle for equity in education, that's why Brown versus the Board of Education, that's why every effort to desegregate schools was an effort that was embarked upon not just by African Americans, obviously. It was shouldered by Americans from all backgrounds and all walks of life. And there was that recognition that a rising tide lifts all boats, so that if we promote education, if we stimulate opportunities for all, that is part of elevating America. And so any effort to undermine education for any group, any marginalized group, or any group of individuals, no matter what their backgrounds, experiences are, choices are, I think is un-American because, again, education served as a building block for this country. Yes, we have the challenges that came with the horrific experience of slavery, but as we transition out of slavery through Jim Crow, through the civil rights movement, education was that watershed moment in terms of making sure that our schools were not separate and deemed equal, that the Brown versus the Board said separate is unequal. And there was that recognition. The Supreme Court ruled that. Mm-hmm. The Supreme Court ruled it. It was not just about an African American's position, because Thurgood Marshall was the only black justice at the time. Right. So you had other justices that recognized that separate was unequal and that any deprivation of opportunities, any deprivation of access, any deprivation of equal resources in schools was depriving a segment of this country of the pursuit of the American dream. So I concur, and I double down on the fact that any effort to undermine education is undermining the tenets of democracy, and the tenets of democracy are epitomized in the American dream, or it should be.
And Dr. Young, so true, so poignant. And as Dr.